Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. The Ted Cruz era is nigh, according to The Week. The Week is saying it's happening. Ted Cruz has come. You know, he's the only here. You know, I have a warning for you as how the article begins. By the way, The Week is not a conservative, magazine by any stretch. It tries pretty hard to be mainstream, but it leans to the left, like most mainstream publications. You might find this news exciting or terrifying, but it's coming. Cruz might be the only Republican presidential candidate who, in the course of this primary, hasn't made any egregious mistakes, underperformed atrociously, or revealed themselves to be not what their supporters had hoped. And that's true.
Yeah, it is.
That's true. Who else has done better in any of those fronts than Ted Cruz?
Probably nobody. He's been flying under the radar for the most part until recently. But you know what I found interesting a few weeks ago when Ellen Page, the self-proclaimed lesbian activist, little actress from Juneau, when she went to Iowa, or I think it was Iowa, to a barbecue where Ted Cruz was, and she confronted him about his stances on gay marriage and all that. She failed miserably. He didn't even know who she was, first of all.
That helps right from the very beginning, doesn't it, Ted Cruz?
And he comported himself very well. I mean, he really did. He was not mean. He was not rude. He was engaging with her in conversation, not just
dismissive.
Not to the point that she, if anything, was dismissive of him, and she finally walked away. But if you watch that video,
I gotta watch that video.
It really is very interesting because it shows Ted Cruz being, very much who he is, not grandstanding, not trying to shout her down, not trying to belittle her.
And he didn't need to.
He was just trying to have a conversation with her, with a constituent, with a potential voter.
There you
go. And I think because he's been flying under the radar, and that was the one time where if anything was going to do it, it would have been that. LGBT, right? Yeah. Coming out against that, if anything was going to do it, it would have been that. And it didn't happen. The media was not able to lock onto that and make anything happen. So
it says here he's raised more money than anyone except Jeb Bush. And you and I both know it's only family who's made Bush, a big check.
Jeb Bush is the establishment candidate. It makes perfect sense.
He's quickly now Mario. I think what's his name? Marco Rubio is going to be become the new establishment.
Hey, I like guy. Marco Rubio. I know he's not perfect, but I really like the guy, and I think that
horrible voting record.
But I mean, Ted Cruz is about the only one that's got a conservative voting record. I mean,
Rand Paul has a 93 according to the Conservative Review. He's
but
very
I can't.
Conservative.
I cannot support Rand Paul because of his views on Israel. His views on foreign policy and the fact that he would just let Israel get blown up. I'm not going to support that.
If Donald Trump and Ben Carson flame out, which to me I still think is a high possibility, the way most people seem to think they will, not a sure thing by any means, but a better than even chance, Cruz could pick up much of their support. I mean, think about it. If those guys go, I don't think Carson people are going to go to Cruz. I don't think that. I'm sorry, Carson people aren't going to go to the Donald, and I don't know. The Donald people might go to Carson, but he is of. If they both go, where else would they go of the entire lot than Ted Cruz?
Chris Christie, maybe.
Not if they're the ideologues they claim to be.
Donald Trump voters might. I mean, they certainly won't go to John Kasich. I'll tell you that right now.
All of the Donald Trump supporters I know, which I'm shocked how many I know, and I'm kind of embarrassed. And if they're listening, I'm sorry, but I'm shocked that you're supporting him. They're all historically very conservative. They historically supported the most.
But he's not. That's the
I know that, and that's just because they're being duped into the Pied Piper rhetoric of that dude. Yeah. That guy is not a conservative by any stretch, but he's got the most conservative rhetoric of any of the candidates. Who has more conservative rhetoric than him?
Ted Cruz.
Not more. Similar, but not more. But you're only making the argument that if Trump leaves, they're going to go to Cruz. You're making that argument.
I am making that argument. Yeah, but you were saying if not Cruz, then who? I was saying maybe Chris Christie.
Only because of temperament, not because of philosophy. But,
Right,
obviously
but-
they're not studying philosophy much to support Donald Trump. They're taking him at face value, how do you do that with any politician, unelected or elected?
I'm just still in shock that Katrina Pearson jumped ship from Ted Cruz to go over to support Donald Trump.
Yeah. That kind of shoots a hole in a theory a lot of people have that those two are in cahoots.
That Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are in cahoots?
Oh, yeah,
What?
I hear that all the time.
Oh, because Ted Cruz doesn't actually actively attack Donald Trump?
But he doesn't do that much to anyone.
That's my point. That's why I said about Ellen Page. He just does his thing. He didn't try to
He
belittle
knows
her.
who the
He
enemy
didn't try
is. It's the Democrats.
and he's very smart like that.
And very Reagan-esque. Reagan didn't do that.
Right.
He
Right.
let all the other primary challengers he had were, nipping at each other's ankles constantly, and he said, I'm
Whoa.
not doing
But
that.
Ted Cruz had no problem going after the Senate. The
The
Republicans.
entire body.
The Republicans in the Senate.
Yeah.
He had no problem going
But they're
after
not
them.
running in for president. Those
No.
guys aren't running for president.
No, that's true, but I'm just saying.
I think, Ronald Reagan had no problem attacking Washington establishment when he ran in 1980.
Yeah,
and
but
that
he
included
didn't-
Republicans.
But he really didn't. He didn't much attack
Republicans were
Republicans.
such a minority, it was not even funny. Under
That's
Bob Michael
that's
in the
true.
U.S. House, come on. Bob Michael was so cordial with the Speaker O'Neill.
O'Neill,
That's just laughable. It was almost like I don't know. I mean, so much for the loyal opposition. It was a joke.
Right. Well, look, calling Ted Cruz the most Reagan-like isn't a bad thing.
No, not at all. He certainly has been called worse.
That's right. Oh, yeah. And the thing is that the media is going to try to eviscerate him every way possible. It still is, Kevin, a problem, a niggling problem that he was born in Canada. I still am having problems processing how that's going to play itself out positively.
Even though we got a president born in Kenya.
Oh, no. This isn't even my show, and I'm just pointing out that I didn't say that.
I'm joking, all you Donald Trump lovers who are now salivating big time over Kevin saying that. Yeah, I have concerns about that too, and I don't know how I'm getting over it, but I'm getting over it.
Getting over it. That's very philosophical of you.
When I consider all the vast lawlessness we have in our
I know, and I think
system,
that Ted Cruz is probably counting on that.
That's sad too.
But he's against lawlessness in government, so I'm not sure how that kind of plays out. But I like the guy. We've had him on the show before. We need to have him on again, Kevin.
I know he's very hard for some reason to get on.
We need to have him on again. I mean, he's a great guy, and I think that he has the right mindset for what this country needs, conservatively speaking, to handle this big government problem we have.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm always been a Ted Cruz fan. He was probably my third choice when we began the presidential cycle, but he's
behind Scott Walker and Ronald Reagan.
Well, Rand Paul. I like Rand Paul,
Oh,
but Rand Paul continues to prove that he can't win.
I just don't like him. I just don't.
He believes in liberty like none of the other candidates.
But you know what? I love that about him. It's just all the other stuff. Why can't he not be a jerk?
Just be normal?
Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap it up on that point. Do want to mention, though, we had a lot of different people on today's program. Today's show brought to you in part by the Pars Law Firm. We've got the Gittender Goyle. We've got Efficient Wealth Management, Cornerstone Recovery. A lot of great people who made this show possible. Have a great day. Spend the rest of it right here on this station.